Tell the people where you're coming from today, sir.
I'm up here 30 minutes outside of the D.C. area, Northern Virginia.
Got it. We are here. I'm young Phil. This is OG Phil.
Oh, yeah?
And,
okay. All right.
Yeah, we're here looking at Lake Michigan, just having a good old boy time. So I asked you to be on the podcast, right? I was, going through the gram as I do. And I saw you on there fueled, to say the least. And
yeah,
from what I deduced, I was like, this guy is like having a picnic and had like a looter like assaulted you or something. Like you were just going off. You were like talking some crazy stuff about like what's going on and how. And when we met, kind of just in various circles a few months ago, I recall you were in the security industry of some sort. Either like I don't recall if it was like you were ex, special ops or something. I don't remember, man. But fill us in on just kind of what you were referring to on Instagram that day, and then I'll give the people the 1 minute about you.
Yeah, sure. So I come from a military background and definitely still in that security industry. But I've been posting pretty frequently. What is this going on for the past 4 months now? And all of these peaceful protests, or as I like to call, just riots. I mean, it's pretty blatant organized crime and terrorism if you look at it from a straight definition standpoint. But I've been posting on Instagram and Facebook and just kind of spreading the word as far as protecting yourself and like how serious the situation actually is. But I didn't personally get involved in a situation where I was having a picnic or going out and having a dinner. I mean, if that would have happened to me, it would have been very, very different story as to what the people would have gotten back in their face if they tried to throw something back in my face. But yeah, I mean, I've just been posting on social media and spreading the word. This specific instance was an Instagram account, and then I just posted it and then kind of made another Instagram post talking about how the need to protect yourself is ever more increased now, just given, the current circumstances. So, yeah.
So this is from a military standpoint, like you mentioned terrorism.
Yeah.
In terms of what is actually going on, that's what I'm super curious about. Like from a military perspective, if let's just pretend it was, Russia or just some external forces from not within the U.S. that were doing this kind of behavior in our country, how do how would that be viewed in a military perspective?
So rephrase that question a little bit, because you're asking about if another country invaded our country and then tried to commit terrorism. I mean, like that's because the feeling I get, and feel free to chime in on this, is like it's just kind of allowed. It's just like condoned, right? Like we've seen a lot of cops step down in terms of just letting, which I'm sure there's reasons for that, and I understand, but yeah. So I mean, if I'm understanding your situation,
okay, I got it. What does the military classify this as?
Well, the military, I don't know if the military has classified it or not, but we have the Department of Homeland Security classified Antifa as a terrorist organization, as a domestic terrorist organization, and that was brought down by President Trump. I don't know if it's Black Lives Matter is grouped into that yet, but at the very least, Antifa is. And Antifa, if anybody doesn't know who's going to listen to this, is anti-fascist movement. However, the tactics of which they employ to further their anti-fascist cause are, in fact, fascist. So it's completely hypocritical, to say the least.
Now, the scariest part of it to me is some of the things I see getting written into law. Like over in California, we're seeing some crazy things getting written into law. I can't think of necessarily a specific one off the top of my head, but I think the most popular one right now is the gun rights in all of this, and where does that land?
I think very recently it was shut down by, it was like the district courts or some sort of Supreme Court case shut that down. They're trying to do like a massive gun registry or something like that. You would have to register all your firearms and it had a bunch of other how should I say this, like socialism and communism inspired, sort of bills in there that were going to get passed, if that passed. And I mean, yeah, it's pretty
I
self-explanatory.
saw something where we were going to have to write your name for every time you go into a club or a restaurant to let them know that you were there. It's crazy. I think it's the Chinese Communist Party.
The thing that I find really concerning about this is that, like, I think in any other sort of situation where you have, whether you have like actually, peaceful protests or, or riots, usually there is some actual organized group behind it, and they have like an actual list of demands that do seem to go somewhere. Whether or not you agree with what those demands are, you can see that, like, okay, there is some end game, and maybe there's a negotiation that could happen on this. But in this case, there isn't really an organization behind it. Like there is the parent group of Black Lives Matter, but the groups that are actually doing the actual on the ground stuff in any given city, it's very decentralized. They're not speaking with one voice, and the main message that they're asking for is something that's completely like a non-starter, like defunding or disbanding the police. Like, just imagine the anarchy that you'll have after that. And when you have that sort of a situation where you have nobody to negotiate with, and also no reasonable list of demands to address, how can you even begin to de-escalate it? That's a big question I'm wondering.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with some of your points. However, I think it is centralized. I think it's centralized in the Democratic Party. I mean, they're not condoning any of the acts that are going on right now. They haven't said, like, oh, we absolutely despise. Can you still hear me all right? Or
No, we're good. Just making sure my volume's all the way up.
I mean, I think it is centralized in the Democratic Party. Unfortunately, I can't say much, and I don't want to get on a whole political, blah blah blah.
No, this is not a boohoo fest or a negativity podcast. So
yeah. Regardless, I mean, they are spreading the message of revolutionary terrorism. They are trying to destroy the country and rebuild it in their own image. And yeah, sure. I mean, there's a lot of images out there of what it's going to look like. And unfortunately, I think that there's going to be a puppet or someone that they can sort of get behind, and then who's going to rebuild the country in their own image. And that just might be I'm being very, very vague here. Let me try and see if I can give an example. I mean, I'll just name drop. I mean, Joe Biden. I mean, he could be the puppet, right? And then you can have a group behind Joe Biden, whoever that's going to be, whether that be Nancy Pelosi or Hillary or anybody who's done very, very wrong, a crazy amount of wrongdoing to this country, and who have already been like, I'm trying to look for the proper words without getting in too much trouble here.
Well, come on, man. Don't feed into the censorship here. Say it while it's still America.
Well, I mean, Hillary's already been known to give out classified information. I mean, she had that whole email scandal go on. Okay. She's already been, I literally can't even think of the word right now other than just like,
corrupt.
Corrupt. Yeah, that's exactly what I mean. Like, Nancy Pelosi is corrupt. Hillary Clinton's corrupt. Okay. And you have all these people who are going to tell Joe Biden to do things, and then Joe Biden could be the guinea pig.
Yeah.
Which, if he's elected in, then you could just have anybody else just come along and push any sorts of laws. I mean, just imagine that whole
Well, I think
California
you've
thing.
been woke. I think you've been woke for a while now. That's kind of been my view of the whole president thing all along. Is I'm like, like the money in politics, right? How the personal spending on the own campaigns. They just go get themselves elected, and then everybody's corrupt. I mean, just the things you hear, right? And and then the obvious media deception, and it's not good, right? Like we're kind of saying, like and this is, nobody knows what to trust. Nobody can listen to anything. That's, real societal disillusionment where people just don't even know up from down. They don't know who to believe about anything. And that's where, to me, it gets really alarming that they just, like, for example, I'm convinced Owen, knew this was coming. I'm convinced, right, that he was trying to fight it or whatever, but just that nobody knows who to trust.
Yeah.
Like, there's no community, So I'm just, where does this go, dude? I mean, if we were
either really, really good or really, really bad.
It's gonna. This is where I just go. It's weird, and it's gonna keep getting weirder. I mean, I don't know. Save my soul, OG Phil.
I think the clear thing is, like, the situation is going to continue amplifying until the election, and then when the election happens, I think if Trump wins the election again, the scale of the riots that we've seen, I think we're going to see something much, much larger. And then if Trump doesn't win and Joe Biden wins, I think they'll probably be for a while. I think things will calm down a bit, but only a bit.
Yeah.
The people who are out on the street, they don't really like Biden either. They hate Trump, but they don't really like Biden either. But then, once Biden comes to power, if he did win, if they actually start doing what they've been talking about doing with taking away guns and stuff like that, there's a lot of people out there that, they are not giving up their guns no matter what. And there's a lot of sheriffs out there who are going to refuse to follow those orders. And, you start getting to the question of, like, well, at that point, what is a path forward as a country?
That sounds like civil war to me. That terrifies me that I even just said that.
Yeah, definitely. And that goes into the question you were asking earlier about, like, how do we de-escalate this? Unfortunately, we can't really de-escalate it because everybody in their own minds is so stubborn to a particular point of view. And so unless that they make their own changes and within their own minds and they decide on, like, doing the facts and doing the research themselves and coming to a conclusion of factual information based on, like, policies being pushed out and what's actually working for them and not working for them, I mean, we're not going to progress. And if we still continue in this manner that we're going in of rioters versus rioters, and then the police just becoming a bystander of it all. I mean, the police can't do much anymore. I mean, it's almost a sad truth, but I mean, they're just vastly undermanned. And then the fact that they're now quitting in the masses because they don't want to be a part of it. It's really sad, but like you were saying, Phil, I mean, it's coming down to a point of, I mean, there might be a civil war, and it's so.
Let's talk about that real quick. We got like 9 minutes left here. What I'm thinking is, and then, we've all been hearing things like this, right? We all know it's going to get crazier as the election comes. It's funny. I just did a podcast with a guy I've known for about a year now. We've, met in a similar business thing, and he lives in Mexico, and he's like, virtually unchanged. Things are pretty much how they were. He's like, my life hasn't changed. I've worked the same way I've been. Everything's still the same. Everything's better. And I'm legit, because I live on Airbnb and I have the flexibility to just be wherever I want during this crazy ass time. So I'm like, where should I go? Cities are just going to be a bad place to be. It's an hour to get a cop on the phone. It's an hour to get a dispatch on the phone in LA. Okay, You're dead. You're already dead. So where do we go if you just want to stay out of the path of the storm?
So me personally, I like to stay about 30 minutes outside of a major city. So
Okay.
I'm 30 minutes outside of DC. We had the riots come into Reston, which, you know, I live like right near the Reston town center. And that was like 2 minutes from my house, right? And I'm like, this is pretty concerning, but it only lasted for a day. So they did say that they were coming to the suburbs, you know, and then we now have that whole thing going on in Kenosha where, you know, Trump just sent federal resources in and yeah, the federal police are definitely there, which, you know, it's a good thing. But unfortunately, if you're not living in a rural community and you're just out in the farmlands or up in the mountains or something like that, you're going to need to take some sort of measure to ensure that you protect yourself and your family. I mean, it's so sad that it's coming down to that point, but it's absolutely true. I mean, this agenda has seeped into every single crack that's out there now, and it's so hard to just break apart. It's I mean, they're teaching these sorts of
It's in
ideas.
schools. Yeah, it's in elementary schools,
Yeah.
right? You have to get, right? They're teaching you to get rid of your whiteness in Seattle and that, you know, science is racist or something. I mean, bro, it's off the rails. Math is racist. And I don't know, dude. Okay, look, should I move to Mexico or do I take my chance in the mountains in Idaho?
So you can take this for what it is, right? We all have our own opinions. However, if Joe Biden gets elected, I would definitely take a serious look at moving outside of the United States.
Yeah.
Like hardcore serious
I'm finding the same thing.
Yeah.
I actually, and I'm quite annoyed by it because, you know, I've started over the last few years. I started doing a lot of investing in real estate. So, you know, and you know, I've been buying rental properties and renovating them, and it's the kind of thing where, you know, it takes a lot of time to build that business up, you know, because you have to put a lot of time into getting each place ready. And then you say like, okay, once I've gotten all these places ready, then you continue renting them out for 30 years and you make your money back. And I'm looking at now like, man, like if Biden wins, you know, there's already people demanding like, oh, you know, cancel rent, make housing free and whatever. And in a lot of places, you know, evictions are illegal now. Fortunately, not where I have my properties yet, but you know, I can imagine it where it's like I have no choice, but I have to divest all of, you know, the property that I have in the U.S. and just leave. And you know, my parents weren't born in the U.S. They were immigrants. They came here to escape socialism and the idea that one generation after that I will have to do what my parents did. You know, it's hard to imagine. And the other problem is also, realistically, where do you even go? You know, like countries like Poland maybe are still, you know, somewhat rational and free. But, I mean, it's Poland. Like, it's not exactly you know, a great place to be otherwise. You know, normally people are leaving Poland to come to places like the U.S. You know, you can go to somewhere like Singapore, but you know, and Singapore is very nice, but it's also like the cost of living is very high. The rules that they have in place, like you don't have freedom like what we had here in America.
Yeah.
And the thing that we're giving up here, I mean, most people really don't even understand how rare it was.
Yeah. That's the absolute mind fuck when you look back and you just go, it was like peacetime. It was peacetime. It was things were so good. All these idiots were just pacified by technology, the fizz drink, the latest entertainment. Everybody was just moving along. And then you know, Jordan Peterson really said it best, and we'll wrap with this. And Jake, I really want to have you back on.
Sure.
Is He says that, it doesn't take that much of a society to become pathologized before it just becomes unbearable to live in it. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I definitely agree with
we'll
that.
wrap with that. Thank you so much for coming on, my man. Where can the people find you?
You can just find me on Facebook, Jake Karpovage, or just go on my Instagram page. I mean, my profile is public, so you can see all the stuff that I'm sharing. It's just Jake_Karpovage.
All right, buddy. Hey, thanks for coming on. We'll have you again. We are Young Phil, OG Phil. We'll see y'all next time.
See ya.